irrespective of the law. Everybody should be on notice. Oy, hindi pinayagan niya ng or executive clemency. Hindi naman lulusot kay Presidente yan eh. Eh, ba't pinayagan niyo sa Bucor? Tama po ba yan? Would that be a correct assumption?
It's correct, Your Honor.
And when that assumption is done, masisisi niyo ba ang tao na sabihin baka may milagro nangyari dyan? Una-una, tahimik na tahimik, walang transparency, at ito ay talaga masela na kaso na dapat a normal person, a common sense person would know, ay teka muna, mainit itong kaso ito, na hindi pinapasok ng sa permission to clemency, dapat magtanong muna ako sa boss ko. Nagtanong ka ba? Tatanungin kita ulit. Nagtanong ka ba? Director General Paildon?
The Bucor is not part of the parole.
No, but they said you were consulted. Kinokonsulta kayo?
I am not aware of any application of
But sir, you know, if I were
Sanchez.
running, and of course, iba tayo, if I were running, lahat na mag-a-apply doon, na mag-a-apply, makikialam ako dahil sasabihin ko, huwag nyo i-consider yan dahil loko-loko yan. Ang daming rules na binabiolate. Pakita nyo yung rules. Andiyan, may checklist ako ng mga rules na binabiolate. So dapat, ayan no, yung mga, meron siyang exchanging uniforms or wearing clothes other than those issued for the purpose. Maliit na bagay pero malaking bagay dito sa good conduct. Merong mga nagsasabi na keeping an authorized amount of money, jewelry, watches, cellular phones, or other communication devices. Luxury pa. So, yan lang. Hindi ko na dadaan sa lahat. Pag nalaman ko yan, hindi ko talaga i-recommend. Tama po ba yan? Would I be well within my premises to do that?
Your Honor, I would like to request the honorable member of the PPA that your answer to the honorable senator is wrong. We have nothing to do with the application of pardons and parole. You just get from our office the carpeta and you're the one to
Okay,
recommend
tatanungin ko
to
ulit
the
para
President.
malinaw.
So
Di
we
ba
have
po ba
nothing to
tinanong
do
ko
with
kayo?
the recommendation
Tinanong
of
ko kayo
parole.
kanina?
So I would like
Na-
the
nalalaman
gentleman
ba?
from the
Just a moment.
PPA to correct, Your Honor. Yes,
Do not
sir.
press your luck.
The carpeta is with us, sir.
Do not press your luck. I'm going to help you with it. I'm asking him again. Dahil sinabi niya na nakukonsulta at sinasabi sa kanila, ang Bureau of Corrections. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir. We
Naka-
consult these cases with the Bureau of Corrections because they submit to us the records of the PDLs.
So sila nagsasabi
And
na
the
records.
contents of these records came from the Bureau of Corrections.
That's
So we
correct.
asked them.
So, kung di mo nalaman, bakit di mo nalaman?
The date is not my term yet, sir. When the application was
December 2018, it was denied and then
17,
it was
the
approved February
application
17.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ah?
The application was 2017, Your Honor.
2018 December. And then it was rejected finally in February 17, 2019. You were there already.
The application, sir, was applied prior to my assumption, Your
That's
Honor.
right. But the decision was made 2019 and somewhere along the line, dapat nalalaman nyo kung sino nag-a-apply because meron ka dapat inputs doon. I'm not trying to blame you. I just want to make sure that in the interest of good legislation in the future, dapat no uncertain terms, dapat kinukonsulta kayo sapagkat kayo nakakakita close quarters. Pangalawa, sasabihin ko na rin yan, sinasabi ko yung close quarters, sasabihin ko rin sa inyo, nakikita ko close quarters, may telepono yung preso, tumutugtog doon sa, may concert doon sa preso, may mga kubol. So hindi mo maalis. It is up to us, kung tayo nagmamaneho noon, hindi mo maalis sa sasabihin, some are more favored than others. Hindi mo masisisi ang tao, di ba? Kaya nga nililinaw ko ito, para sa pagdating sa legislation, malinaw na malinaw yan. So, sa madaling sabi, talagang hindi talaga nagbibigay ng inputs, hindi nabigyan ba kayo ng inputs dyan? Sa pag-application sa executive clemency ni Sanchez?
We received, sir, the carpeta, and in the carpeta, it includes all reports.
Ay, yung karpeta yan, ang laman ng talagang lifetime niya sa records, di ba?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes,
so
sir.
dapat alam nila
Yes,
yun,
sir.
di ba?
Tama po.
Oh, ayan ang karpeta. Meron akong copy dito. Inago na naman ni Senator Dillon. Anyway, thank you, Frank. But anyway, the point is, dapat hindi makalusot yan. Ang nagtataka lang namin Secretary General Paildon, Director General Paildon, is paano ninyo na i-recommend yan? Ang dami niyang violations. May drug, paulit-ulit na ako dyan. Ayoko na ulitin yan. Pero nakalusot pa rin. Nabigyan mo sila ng process. Meron pinakita si Senator Lacson, ang pirma mo. At ang dami ring nangyayari na pinipirma ng mga tao mo, yun di dapat nila gawin. Di ba? So talaga may problema tayo. So that is what I want to lay the predicate on. Because Senator Go has said the President is there, he's looking at the records, he will be very extra careful na hindi makakalusot yung mga bagay na ganyan. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir. May I continue?
And I'm asking you a question.
Yes, sir. Anyway, para po maintindihan ng...
What is the answer to my question? Hindi makakalusot kay Presidente.
Yes, sir, of course. In-explain ko na kanina eh. Very prudent po ang ating Pangulo. Unang-una, para po maintindihan ng publiko, etong iba't ibang klase po itong pagre-release eh. Maraming nanonood sa TV. May probation, ito po yung... Simplify eh. I will just simplify it. Probation, the court grants the probation. Itong parole, ito po yung dumadaan sa Board of Pardons and Parole. And then, they grant the parole. Ito namang Good Conduct Time Allowance, GCTA, ito po yung sa Bucor. Sila na po ang nagpo-proseso nito. Marahil nagtataka kayo bakit hindi po alam ni Pangulong Duterte yung na-release na almost 2,000 kasi po hindi dumadaan sa kanya. Ang dumadaan lang po sa Pangulo ay itong absolute pardon or conditional pardon. Now, my last question. If proven excluded po yung mga heinous crimes na na-release na po and not qualified sila, paano ba yun? Pwede ba natin silang i-recall? O pwede ba natin considered sila as wanted? O pwede bang shoot to kill? Anong pwedeng gawin sa kanila kung...
Senator, I already stated earlier that it's a very complicated issue. The Department of Justice has a view regarding how to deal with those who have already been released but were sentenced to life, or rather sentenced due of crimes which are considered heinous in character. But as I also explained earlier, considering that maybe constitutional issues may be involved here, and interests of both sides have to be considered and balanced, I'd rather not make a comment at this time until a more thorough study on how to deal with the problem has been made.
Okay. Sir, okay na po ako. Chairman, Mr. Chair, I'm done. Thank you po.
Lucid interval here with Senator Dilo. I requested the records of the, that is what we were discussing here, of the Bureau of Pardons and Parole. Or the board, sorry, the board, my mistake. So that we would find out the records, no? Because napaka-importante yan. Because one of the questions that we have is checks and balance. Walang checks and balance. Yung Bucor, wala rin checks and balance dun sa provincial prisoners, sa BJMP. Would you agree, sir?
I agree, sir.
Thank you. I will get back to you later. In the meantime, my esteemed colleague, Senator Pangilinan, has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Magandang hapon po. I just have a few questions. Marami ng mga tanong na nasagot pero nais ko lang magtanong pa ng ilan para lang mas mapaliwanag pa. Nabanggit kanina ni Ginoong Faldon, ang ating Director General, na ang pinirmahan niya ay memo of release pero hindi release order. Tama po yun, di ba ba?
Memorandum of release.
Yes, memorandum of release.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, memorandum of release. At ito ang tinatanggap ng superintendent at siya ang pipirma ng release order. Tama po ba yun? Yun ba yung proseso?
Yes, Your Honor.
Meron na bang memorandum of release na hindi sa ilalim ng inyong panunungkulan na hindi pinirmahan o ayaw pirmahan o ibinalik sa inyo ng superintendent?
No, Your Honor.
So in other words, administrative na lamang, wala nang discretion itong superintendent para pumirma o gumawa ng release order. wala na siyang discretion. Susunod na lang siya doon sa memorandum of release.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So hindi maaring ibaliktad ng superintendent yung iyong memorandum of release order.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So ibig sabihin, kayo talaga po ang merong kapangyarihan at yung memorandum of release order ay, kumbaga, yun ang susi. Yung release order ay susunod na lamang dun sa memorandum of release.
Yes, sir. That will trigger the processing of the release until the superintendent will issue the final release order. Your
Dito,
Honor.
yes, okay. Dito sa Department Order 953, kayo naman ay familiar din po dito, Ginoong Director General.
No, Your Honor. It was just brought to me by the Secretary a few days ago, Your Honor.
Dahil ang subject ng Department Order 953 ay rules and procedure in the release of national prisoners with expired sentence. So bakit hindi ninyo alam itong Department Order na ito na saklaw ang pag-release ng mga national prisoners na mag-expire na ang kanilang sentence? Bakit hindi ninyo alam ito?
I asked our legal officers why I was not briefed about that department order. And I was briefed that there is a communication between the former Director General and the former Secretary of Justice amending that procedure, Your Honor.
Meron bang written issuance dito sa amendment na ito?
There's a letter that the Senior Superintendent Faustino here may be able to explain to the honorable body, Your Honor, with regards to that letter, Your Honor.
So ibig sabihin itong Department Order number 953 ay naamendahan?
That is the assumption and the explanation of our legal officers when I inquired about it, when I find out that there is such a department order, Your Honor.
May we hear from the Secretary, what is that letter and does that amend Department Order 953?
We only have a copy of Department Order number 953. I have no records of any subsequent written communications to that effect unless such exchange of communications happened before my time as SOJ.
Well, medyo problematic ito. Yung current secretary hindi alam kung mayroong amendment dito sa 953 at sinasabi naman ng Director General nagkaroon ng communication at ang pagkaintindi ko dito sa communication nung dating Director General at yung dating dating Secretary of Justice ay hindi na ina-apply yung ilang mga provision ng Department Order 953. Pero wala tayong dokumentong pinanghahawakan. Tama ba yun?
We tried to search our records, but we did not find any.
So, hindi na sila miyembro ng, hindi na sila secretary, hindi na sila director general, pero sinusunod natin yung kanilang sinulat na hindi rin natin alam kung meron bang sulat o hindi. Ganun ba yun?
There's a communication that I believe Senior Superintendent Faustino can explain, Your Honor.
Well, okay, can you please put that on
I
record?
be recognized, Your Honor.
The chairman, with the permission of the chairman, please.
Mr. Chair, can I be recognized? Thank you, Your Honor. During we have here several communication requesting for the delegation of power to release inmates already served sentence and pursuant to the 10592. So we have made several requests dated 4 June 2018 and 27 September 2018. Then pursuant to the instruction of then former Director General of UCOR, who is now the Honorable Senator General De La Rosa, to request for the pull out of the several documents, because as early as 2016, we have sent several requests for the approval of several releases of high-risk, high-profile inmates.
Request to whom? To the Secretary of Justice?
Yes, sir. And those serving more than 40 years, because we are saddled by several complaints for habeas corpus before different courts, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman, kaya ako tinatanong ito ay dahil yung Department Order number 953, sinasabi sa number 4, in all cases, and I quote, in order to ensure that the computations made by the Bucor is accurate specifically as regards the grant of good conduct time allowance, and so forth and so on, diba? The Director General of the Bureau shall issue a certification as to the correctness and accuracy of the computation of the credits. Ibig sabihin, dapat merong ganung klaseng issuance, no? At ang pagkaintindi ko rito ay ito ay dapat sinusumite sa Department of Justice dahil order ng Department of Justice Secretary ito eh. Pero ang nangyari rito, ang binibigay lamang sa inyo, base sa inyong salaysay kanina o sa inyong testimonya, Secretary Guevara, ay yung stall, yung loyalty. Pero itong good conduct, hindi binibigay sa inyo. Pero ang pinakabuod ng department order, dapat ibigay din sa inyo yung good conduct time allowance dahil kayo ang magtitiyak kung accurate ba ito o hindi. Tama po ba yun, Secretary Guevara?
Only with respect to the good conduct time allowance or other time credits of persons deprived of liberty but were sentenced to reclusion perpetua or life imprisonment according to that department order. So it's not the case that all releases will have to go through the Department of Justice. In fact, that department order grants that authority to the Bucor chief. And it's only in the case of releases of persons sentenced to life imprisonment or reclusion perpetua that prior approval of the SOJ will be required.
Well, where in the Department Order 953 says that it is only for the expired, it's only for the preventive, detention? What is the term again that you use, Mr. Secretary?
Senator, it's found in paragraph 2 of that Department Order 953. The said authority of the Director General of the Bureau of Corrections to release national prisoners shall not apply to prisoners or inmates sentenced to life imprisonment or reclusion perpetua or high-risk inmates whose release due to expired sentences, that includes time deductions, shall only be implemented upon prior approval of the Secretary of Justice.
So that should be very clear.
Yes, sir.
But, and your prior approval is necessary.
According to this department order, unless it has been repealed, revoked, or amended.
Okay. Medyo maliwanag doon na may kapangyarihan base dito sa department order na ito ang department secretary na hindi na-exercise dito sa kaso ni Mayor Sanchez. May you say yes on the record, sir?
It was not followed in the sense that nothing was submitted to the DOJ.
And it could have been averted if there was something that was submitted to the DOJ, or it could have been reviewed, or it could have been tackled further. Tama po ba yun?
Well, considering the high-profile nature of the case, we might have investigated further to make sure that the certification of correctness of computation is validated.
Yes, thank you. Doon sa usapin naman ng good conduct time allowance, lumalabas kasi base dito sa interpretasyon ng batas ay 30 days during the 11th and successive years, which is the case of Mayor Sanchez, hindi po ba? He shall be allowed a deduction of 30 days for each month of good behavior. Tama po ba yun? Attorney Orseo? You were mentioning this. During the 11th and successive years of imprisonment, he shall be allowed a deduction of 30 days for each month of good behavior. Yun yung inimplementang batas.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yun yung sinasabing kaya siya naging eligible, quote-unquote. Tama?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, kung gano'n ang interpretasyon, kung ikaw behave ng isang buwan, 30 days, automatic, dagdag sa ano mo.
At tama po yun.
Pero, kung sa susunod na buwan, 3 beses kami sinaksak, walang good behavior.
Maski nga po isa lang gawin mo eh.
Hindi,
ng
pero,
violation. Yes.
kaya nga ginagawa kong absurd eh.
Yes.
3 beses,
Yes, Your Honor.
hindi ka kasama.
Yes, Your Honor.
Pero sa susunod na buwan, yung pangatlong buwan, behave ka na naman, wala ka na namang kaso, wala kang saksakan, 30 days na naman ang good.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, yun ang tama ba yung batas na pag-implementa sa ganun? I don't think that is the intention of the law and the lawmakers. But precisely, ito mukha ang nangyayari rito. So pag ako nasa preso, sasabihin ko, teka muna, magsasaksak ako ng 2 beses ngayong buwan na to kasi pero next month, tsaka the following month, magbe-behave ako. May minus na naman akong 60 days dahil 2 buwan akong behave. So it applies to whatever criminal act, whether it is rape, etc., which obviously is absurd, and that was not the intention and spirit of the law. Maliwan ko lang yung, hindi kasi maliwanag na nasagot. Dun sa Chong case, 3 dun sa mga akusado at na-convict, namatay na. Tama. Yung iba, naka-detain pa o na-release na?
Sa Sanchez case, Your Honor po yun. Yung
Sorry,
namatay.
yes, the Sanchez case. Yung, sabi nyo yung 3 namatay na, pero meron pang ibang akusado na-convict.
Buhay pa po, Your Honor.
Nasaan sila?
Sa loob pa po ng...
So hindi na-release,
Yes, Your Honor.
pero nag-apply for release.
The application of the retroactive effect of GCTA or Republic Act 1592, ang interpretation ng legal, they do not need to apply because it is commanded by the Supreme Court to recompute. So, hindi siya kailangan mag-apply.
Pero they have to get your
Honor.
clearance, di ba? They have to get,
They have to pass through the process, Your
yes.
Honor.
And their process, where is the status, what is the status? Pareho kina Mayor Sanchez yung status ng mga kaso nila?
It's the same for every PDL, Your Honor.
Pero natigil nga, dahil nga dito sa...
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Doon sa assassination ng Bucor director, kasi nabanggit kanina si Mr. Traya, involved ba siya directly dito sa paghahanda ng mga dokumento ng pag-release kay Mayor Sanchez?
He's part of the team, Your Honor.
So meron siyang kinalaman o involved siya sa
Assistant, he's the next in line in the records, Your Honor.
How long has he been doing that with the permission of Senator President? How long has he been doing that?
I was informed that he's been assigned there the past 3 years, Your Honor.
3 years. So marami siyang active involvement yan.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Sarmenta at Ginoong Mr. Sarmenta, with due respect, ang tanong ko lang po dito is, you were quoted in the newspapers, parang last week ata, na parang hindi nagkaroon ng settlement o compensation o danyos. Tama po ba yun?
Yes, Your Honor.
But wasn't that the order of the court?
Yes, it's supposed to be. It was affirmed by the Supreme Court that they're supposed to pay us, but not even a single centavo or any emissary that came to us for that
So,
matter.
hindi nila sinusunod yung utos ng Korte Suprema. Ganun po ba?
Kaya nga po, paano naging good conduct po siya? Yung inuutos sa kanya ng batas, hindi po niya sinusunod. Tapos, nabasa po namin doon sa kanyang general clemency, sabi po niya na pinatawad na namin siya. How can we forgive somebody who hasn't even asked for sorry or you didn't even see
So ang
that he
ililiwanag
felt
po, yes,
remorse?
ma'am, sorry po. Kasi medyo may clear yung panahon ko. Ililiwanag ko lang po, ma'am, na may utos ang Korte Suprema, magbayad siya ng danyos, hindi ho siya nagbayad sa inyo ng danyos. Hindi siya sumunod sa Korte Suprema, sa utos ng Korte. Tama po ba yun?
Tama po kayo.
Pero ito ngayon, hindi na nga siya sumunod sa utos ng Korte, pero ang desisyon o naging desisyon ay pwede na siyang good conduct na siya. Pwede pa ba yung Secretary Guevara, what is your sense? How can you be eligible for good conduct when you did not comply with the court ruling?
You are referring to the civil liability.
Yes, the compensation as ruled by the court.
Mr. Senator, my understanding about the civil liability arising from the offense or ex delicto is totally independent of the criminal aspect of it. So regardless of the conduct of the person deprived of liberty, whether he behaved or did not behave, the matter of payment is totally independent. And that can be enforced by other methods.
Yes, I
rather than
understand
through-
that. But precisely the refusal or the non-compliance by the convicted felon should not be considered as precisely lacking in good conduct?
It really all depends on the particular circumstances of the case, Mr. Senator. If the person is somebody who has no ability to pay the civil liability, then
Yes, but we are
that
talk-
should not be taken against him. But if we're talking about this particular person, I think that should be taken into account.
And therefore, again, it adds, well, for lack of a better term, it is adding insult to injury on the part of those who have been injured and who have been precisely victimized. That now, because of the implementation of the law and interpretation of the provisions of the law, someone who has not complied with the ruling of the court to pay damages, civil liability aspect, can still be considered as being having exercised good conduct.
I've already given you an extra.
Yes,
3
yes,
minutes.
Mr. Chairman, we will wrap
Thank
up.
you.
So that
Please,
should
please
be
complete.
also a consideration, Mr. Secretary, when you go through your review. How can someone who has not precisely complied with the ruling of the court, has shown disrespect for the court ruling, can now avail of good conduct, or at least provisions of the law? So, ang huling question lang, Mr. Chairman, yung nabanggit ito sa nabalita natin sa dyaryo na pati yung tatlong ex-convicts na nag-testify laban kay Senator De Lima, convicted na po yan. Parang nabasa ko sa dyaryo na pati sila pwede mag-avail ng good conduct time allowance. I think it was either, I don't know which, was it Secretary Guevara who was quoted?
I think the statement is based on the premise that they were not convicted of heinous crimes. Because if the violation, the drug offense committed by these 9 PDLs would fall under that category of
Is the
heinous
number 9?
crimes, then they will have to be excluded from the benefit. But not all cases where the penalty imposed was reclusion perpetua or life imprisonment is heinous in character. That is not automatic.
No, I was raising the third question on the 13 ex-convicts who testified against Laila De
Oh,
Lima.
sorry. Yes, the same answer, Senator. So it all depends on whether because I'm not sure for what offenses they were imprisoned. But if they were imprisoned for heinous crimes, then following our theory that they are excluded from the coverage of this particular law on GCTA, they will not benefit.
Although in this case, I think they admitted to dealing with drugs while they were already convicts. So maybe that should be a recidivist at the very least. No? So that conduct or the misconduct or the admission of a crime while they were in detention or having been convicted already should also be considered in terms of the computation. And if I may just have one last minute.
One last question.
Yes, no more question, just to wrap up.
Sige.
Clearly, maliwanag na ang daming gaps dito sa implementation nung pag-release o yung pag-implementa ng batas na ito. And maliwanag dito na hindi tama ang pag-release o order of release kay Mayor Sanchez. And therefore we hope na based dun sa magiging aksyon ng Secretary of Justice ay lahat ng gaps ay matugunan. Maraming salamat po sa pagkakataong ito, Ma'am Secretary, and to the Chairman. Thank you very much.
Maraming salamat din po.
Thank you, Senator Pangilinan. I understand Senator De La Rosa waived in favor of Senator Bongo, and under the rules, when you waive, you go to the last round again. I would like to ask you to follow the rules. Otherwise, we cannot file the bill where if somebody has bad conduct, he has to start again from the very beginning. I'm not saying you have bad conduct. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, the onset, nakikiramay po kami sa pamilya Sarmiento and Gomez. Being UPLB graduate, I graduated in 1990. Your children were there in 1993 when the incident had happened. As a matter of fact, many of my friends know them. Kaya it's a shock to us in the UPLB community when we found out that the perpetrator of these crimes, the mastermind, was about to leave jail and be free from his incarceration. Ma'am, the whole UPLB community supports the continued incarceration of former Mayor Sanchez until the end and expiry of his term. You have our full support on that, ma'am. Kaya gulat na gulat po kami na nangyari po yun. But thankfully, with the decision of the Secretary and Undersecretary Faldon, they decided to withhold the application or hold the application of ex-Mayor Sanchez. Unfortunately, ma'am, and for the rest of the country that's listening in, there were 1,914, as shown by this newspaper report. There was 1,914 other criminals of heinous crimes that were released already the past 4 years. Nakakatakot yan, Secretary. Alam mo, kung ikaw ay biktima at mag-testify ka at nakulong successfully itong mga taong ito, and then all of a sudden, they'll feign good conduct. Pepeke nila yung good conduct nila. Para makalabas sila, para bawiin o bumawi sa mga nag-akusa sa kanila. Nakakatakot po yan. It sends shivers down the spine of every law-abiding citizen, Secretary. Obviously, in this discussion today, it's clear that the law is not clear. Am I correct, Secretary? That Republic Act 10-10592 is not clear. Ang daming vague provisions. Because at one point you tell me in Section 1 or Section 2, heinous criminals are not or cannot be given GCTA or good conduct and time allowance. And yet within the document, I'm not a lawyer, Secretary, so ako ay minsan naguguluhan. Within the document, may kausap naman ako ibang abogado na pwede palang ilusot. Diba? When you ask lawyers on the implementation of the law, it's really, we get more confused actually in committee hearings, Mr. Secretary. Do you agree with me that the law is very vague?
When there are two or more interpretations to the law, then that is vague or ambiguous. Because when the law is clear, there is no room for interpretation.
That's correct, Mr. Secretary. Now, I'd like to ask you, would it be more beneficial to the country and to all law-abiding citizens if we just repeal the law altogether? Republic Act 10592 and just go back to the old system?
It's a question of policy, Mr. Senator. So if the policy remains to be more leading towards rehabilitative, reformative, rather than punitive, then I guess the best way really is to just fill in the gaps, make certain clarifications, but not to repeal it altogether. However, if the policy is now being radically changed to make it more punitive, then that is a totally different matter. And you may have to repeal not only this particular law, but even the provisions of the revised penal code itself.
So, Secretary, if that is the case, it may be too much to us to repeal the law, especially for those who take advantage of it with minor criminal offenses. My question now, Secretary, what particular recommendations can you give? Shortly, quickly, because I only have 5 minutes of my time, Mr. Secretary. Would it be safe to say one of them is that all these petitions should go to the office of the Department of Justice, to your office for review? Because let's face it, Mr. Secretary, with all due respect to Yusek Faldon and those before you, they're not lawyers. Many of them are soldiers, ex-policemen, and many of them are law enforcers. Hindi nila minsan naintindihan itong intricacies ng batas natin, and with all due respect again to them, because as much as I would like to believe, I'm not also a lawyer, so we have to be clear upon the legal aspects of this particular law. Would it be safe to assume that, for example, there should be a second tier or second layer of protection, especially for the victims of these heinous crimes, or these victims of crimes?
Thank you for asking the question, Senator. I believe that much improvement can be done, but at the level of the Department of Justice, that will not be possible. My suggestion, if the committee may forgive me for suggesting or for making, is that certain amendments be made to the existing GCTA law, and if I may briefly enumerate, does not contain any purpose or the policy of the law. Number two,